Oh, I like this. It wasn't even a question, but I think it's a good thing, and we like talking about this. Super Tight, which is a great name, asks opinion. The best producers have a great ear for the right texture instead of over EQing. As another thing, I was with, I think I was with
cool.
Stuart again. I gotta have, but it's great. But it's a really important thing that I was at Stuart's place a couple of weeks ago, and we were listening to some of our favorite mixes, listening to this 90s into 2000s era rock stuff, listening to like Rich Costey mixes and some of these amazing sounding rock bands, and then listening to some Timbaland, Missy Elliott records. And he was talking about some of the people that mixed those, because he was more in that world and knowing those engineers. And he was like, yeah, the guys that were mixing the Timbaland records were like, yeah, Timbaland just picks the best sounds. Like, it already sounds great. He just has a sense of what sample is going to be in the right place and how it's going to be pitched. I mean, there's the interviews with 40, Drake's guy, and how he pitches things down, and that acts like a low pass filter. And what that does to tracks. I think it is a hugely valuable thing and hugely important thing. And I'm sure you see this with the wide variety of producers you work with. Sound selection. These guys aren't doing like crazy EQ moves to make things work. They're picking the right kick drums and the right snares, and the sample feels a certain way and the guitars are a certain way. Do you see particular threads in that with the people that are better than others in terms of producers?
Yeah, I mean, that's all arrangement conversations, right? Like that's how you vertically arrange a record, sonically speaking, versus the the time version of the arrangement, which is where pieces come in and out, right? So I like to think about arrangement, course of time, and I guess that's horizontally and temporally, and then vertically speaking from bottom to top end of things. And you can dynamically shift records. Like, you can put a high-end Juno buzzy synth in a chorus with no EQ on it, and you feel more high-end in the chorus. Or you can stack an octave higher vocal. You can do all these production tricks that require no EQ, just the right placement of the harmonics. And that's always what separates the best from the good. Or the best from the not so good.
Hex asked, who maybe we could just shout out some great people. Who are some of your favorite producers who do this particularly well?
Yeah, sorry guys, I can't.
No, it's good. That's all right.
Oh man,
I know you love OG Volta. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, OG Volta comes to mind, but also like D Mile.
Jeez.
The Bruno Mars crew, Silk Sonic is kind of a great example of this, like when the sparkle comes and goes, right? And it's not any EQing. I'm sure Serban played a role in it, but that's in the bells and whistles of the arrangement. And
those Lucky Day records that D Mile did are so spectacular, and everything is like, that's the thing that I find really difficult, is I always am over EQing things when I get to mix. And it's something we talked about last week. I need to just separate my mix process from my production process more. And you gave me some good ideas about that. But that's one thing that I find really magical about what D Mile does, is there's a lot of sounds that feel present but don't feel bright. Yes. And that is a really like classic, it's real instrumentation, darker sounds, but somehow... Yes. Because the guitar part is here and the bass is here and the vocals here and the sparkle is here, they don't all have to be bright to be really present. And that's a really like sound selection separating is powerful.
I would refer to that as a more musical producer. And that's not saying that this producer can shred on the guitar or on the keys and they're a shredder. They just have a musical sensibility to the way that they, move through time in a song. And I would consider myself a musical mixer, but I cannot shred on any instrument well at all. But I think about the arrangement musically, like what is now here to grab our attention, what is now elevating here, what needs to be pulled out. I don't think about things with EQ. I think about things in vertical, sonic harmonics. And I don't think EQ is just a tool, right? We've talked about this on previous episodes. All these tools have a purpose. But really what we're trying to do is do the thing that we're just talking about now, which is have the right sound come and go at the right time that creates some sort of compelling emotional feeling and takes us on a journey through a record, right? And that could be EQ, and you can hear potential in a sound. Like say you're sampling a record and the record has no low end. It's like, well, maybe a low end boost on the sample extreme will bring up something that's there. Cool, that could be a move. But also maybe using that only for this mid-range thing and playing a bass under it makes it artistically more interesting and less copycatty of what the sample is. Now you're harmonically working around it in the lower end because the sample is telling you a story, right? That's, there are a lot of ways in. So I laughed at the statement because, yeah, that's a fact. But also the best producers also know when to do a broad stroke EQ that brings out what was missing from the sound that they heard potential in, right? Like it could go both ways, which is that statement makes me laugh because yes, it's true, but also the other part is true too, which is you can use EQ to bring out a sound. I think the idea is by the end of it, is the sound demolished? Like, does it still have its integrity to it from the initial spark? That's why, like, I would comment on if you're an engineer or a producer engineer or songwriter dabbling in EQ, if you have molested the sound till it no longer sounds like the thing that excited the room, then that's too far. And that's the only way that it's too far.
And by the way, that's as a mixer, when you're sound designing, maybe you screwing it up gets it to the right place.
Exactly.
But it just depends where you are in the process. I definitely, it may be just true for me, but I imagine I'm not special in this realm, that I often am trying to get too much out of a sound. Like there's a sound that's there in a mix, in a production, even if it's a production that I've done, where I'm like, oh, I really wish this, and I try to brighten it up and I try to get more saturation in the low end, and it's just not as good, and then it starts getting in the way of other stuff, but I want to hear it more present, so I'm trying to do more to it on its own, and it's just not meant to fit into the mix like that. It's got a narrow space, and I need to just leave it.
Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, all of this content is free. There's no secret knowledge here. We don't have sponsors. We don't run ads. We don't have a Patreon. All that we ask in return is that you share it with somebody. Thanks.